everybody. It's the Women's Health Podcast.
Oops. Guy just dropped off. Okay, we'll wait for her to come back, I guess. I
And
went
you're
on.
listening.
Yes, she's
Sorry,
coming
okay, I'm back. So it's the Women's Health Podcast, and we've got Larissa Dulce, we've got Marabella as our special guest, and we've got Kiko, and we will be talking all things hormones, menopause, periods, women's health, pregnancy, anything to do with women's health. And all the different modalities and experiences we've had. We did share last month our experiences, as in Larissa's, Dulce, Kiko's, and Summer as well, who isn't here this week, and myself. But we have a special guest this week, Marabella, who will share about her experience with perimenopause and raw foods and bioidentical hormones. So welcome, everybody, first off. Hey, guys.
Hello. Hi, everyone.
And I will let Marabella take stage and share a bit about her journey. So welcome, Marabella, here.
Oh, thank you so much. So I am going through perimenopause, and I also still have periods. I am 56, and I guess I began this perimenopausal journey probably at age 50, I think I was. But what I noticed is, so I was going back and forth between being vegan and raw vegan. And I was really wanting to stay raw vegan, but I hadn't set the intention. So since 2022, I set the intention to be high raw. I mean, I do eat some cooked in the wintertime or, out with friends, but I made that intention, and so I'm sticking with it. But back in maybe 2018, 19, 20, I was still going back and forth. So I had started a journey of homeschooling with my son as well. And that was, I think, 2018. So by the time 2020, but by the time 2020 happened, I was already mostly raw. I was feeling really good. And then all of a sudden, it felt like all of a sudden when I turned 50, my periods became irregular. They were very, very, very heavy, like very clotty, very heavy. I didn't have that stress. Homeschool was a breeze by that point. The first couple years of homeschool was I felt a little bit more anxious. Um, at first, my son didn't really like homeschool, and then by 2020, he liked it, so it was a breeze. Also, we joined a gym so that he could play basketball. He was on the basketball team, and so um, I joined a gym with him, and I noticed that in my everyday life, I felt great. I had energy. Um, Being raw vegan really helped me to feel great. But when I worked out on the exercise machines or tried weights, I would be extremely tired. Really, I felt depleted after my periods. I felt more tired than during my period. And I thought, well, is this raw vegan working for me? Is that's what's going on, or what is happening? So at around that same time in 2020, I had a girlfriend who had a partial hysterectomy in a very young age. And she was on bioidentical hormones. And then I started to look into bioidentical hormones, and I found um, uh, an actress named Suzanne Summers. I don't know if anyone's familiar with her. She did a ton of work on bioidenticals. And I studied like a book of hers. It was called The Sexy Years, and it talked about her, it talked about her husband, it talked about her journey. It talked about like why we would want to take bioidenticals versus regular hormone replacement therapy. Bioidenticals are made from things like yams, sweet potatoes. They're still a pharmaceutical, but what happens is, what happened for me is that I called a women's clinic where I live. I told them I was interested in the bioidenticals. I told them my story of I didn't really have that much stress. I couldn't work out like now I work out and I feel good. I feel like the endorphins kick in. I feel energetic. So I told them now when I work out, I feel really tired. Not just like I wasn't just feeling like a little tired. I would go for a super long walk and want to take a nap. And I was like, what is going on with me? And I was kind of thinking, is it the vegan? Is it what? So when I went in for my appointment, they had me talk to someone from a compounding pharmacy. So I went in and I had my regular checkup, pap smear, talked about my periods, talked about my life, all that kind of thing. Then I got a phone call from the um, clinic that does the bioidentical, so the compounding pharmacy. I had to do a lengthy questionnaire on everything, how I sleep, how I eat, my moods. My mood was pretty good. I feel like from having mostly raw vegan juices, feeling really good. My only real complaint was feeling so tired after a workout, and then maybe sleep wasn't always 100%, like right before my period. Even now, my sleep isn't as good as, during the rest of the time. And I wanted to see if they could test to see if I had enough B vitamins, iron, all the things that a vegan would be lacking in. I wanted to make sure that I was fine in that department. So they did my blood test. Um, so they did a blood test, and then the compounding pharmacy made the bioidentical hormones, the estrogen, progesterone, because I happen to be low in estrogen and progesterone, but fine in my B's, fine in my iron, all the things that we need to test for as vegans. I was great in those. I just had lower tests, or I think testosterone was fine too. And so I've been taking since 2020 a tincture of estrogen that I put under my tongue and a bead of progesterone that I take at night. And so I still have periods. They check me to make sure that's okay. It's kind of unusual for me at this age to still be having periods, but they're not heavy and clotty anymore. They're lighter. Sometimes they're still irregular sometimes, but all in all, from eating raw vegan, I feel really good. I feel good emotionally, mentally. I'm getting enough B's, I'm getting enough iron, um, and my hormones are stable. So and now when I work out, I can work out as hard as I want, or I can I try every day, or as close to every day as I can, to get 10,000 or more steps. I do yoga, I do Pilates. I feel amazing, incredible, just like I did before perimenopause hit. I actually think I was probably in perimenopause in my late 40s. I think it's still going. I noticed the heavy periods coming in maybe around age 45, like so heavy. Like I mean so heavy that I would bleed through a pad, or I would go through tons of pads in a day, and it was just so horrible. Um But even with all that in the past that had happened, the heavy bleeding and everything, my iron is good. So I have no doubt that the raw vegan is working for me. I was just afraid that I was gonna have to eat meat or something, and they're like, "No, you're good that way." And so I go in every year. I have my blood checked for iron, B12, estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, all of that. My doctor is all for, like I told her, I'm after last year, right before I went on a juice fast, I told her I was going on a juice fast. She said the juice fasting is fantastic, especially.
Oops. I think we lost Marabella for a second there.
Yeah.
But thank you so much for sharing that. It seems like, so if you've just joined us, it
Cheers.
seems you're there. Okay,
Okay.
we'll put you back up to finish.
Okay. Yeah. So the bioidenticals, I just wanted to say, are there, so they are supposed to be very chemically matched to our own natural hormones. And so they're the closest thing to our hormones as we can get. And also, I was told that, like, we don't get old and then lose our hormones. We actually start losing our hormones, and that's how we age. So the bioidenticals are really good for brain health, because I was also feeling foggy. I didn't realize it going through it, but now being on the other side. Oh, and I wasn't having any caffeine at all. When I was starting my homeschooling journey with my son, I wanted to be very like calm, centered, clear-headed. I didn't want to have to rely on anything. I wanted to just do it without having any stimulants. So at that point, I was a little bit fog-brained. Then after taking the bioidenticals, I didn't start having caffeine until this year. I didn't start having cacao or matcha until just recently. But up until that point, I had given up caffeine, coffee, all of those things. And so for me, the bioidentical hormones are working really, really well. And I guess I can be on them until, into my 70s. But my doctor said by the time, like in another 10 years, we're going to have even more like choices for women, for our health, for our hormones. So I think there's new things coming out for us soon, hopefully, to help with this transition process. And so
And
yeah, that's my story. I oh, another thing too that I found is, I think I'm meaning to talk to my doctor about this. I feel like drinking a lot of green juice, I feel like that provides some estrogens from the plants. So I notice that can take less of the estrogen that goes under my tongue. I can take less of that when I'm drinking more green juice. And also, when I got the bioidentical estrogen, because I have the progesterone too, but I started at a super, super low dose, and I felt immediate results. And I went up to a tiny bit of a higher dose. And I know, like, I play around with the dose as far as like activity. So if I know I'm going to be super active, I take a little more. If I'm going to be like just not as active, I take a little less. And what happens if I take too much is I feel bloated around the middle. Then I just cut back a little bit. If I go down too low, I feel it in my mood. Like, I'll feel a little depressed, a little bit more down, not quite as energetic. So I usually keep right to a certain dose, and I don't know what that dose is to share with you guys, because I have a syringe and I marked where I was supposed to be, and I just keep that same syringe, and the numbers are gone now because I've used it for so many years. But I'm on the lower end of the dosing, and they have me cycling my progesterone. So at the first start of my period, I stopped the progesterone for, the days of my period. And then a few days after, I think 10 days. So the start of my period, 10 days, then I go back on the progesterone.
okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. That was really thorough. Thank you for sharing that. So first off, I want to say I can't believe you're 57. That's incredible. Like,
Thank
that was like, first off, mind blowing right there. And thanks for sharing like everything. If you've just joined us, Marabella is having bioidentical hormones and the raw foods. Do you feel that you contributed to the raw foods is really important with the
Really
combination
important.
of the estrogens and
Yes,
progesterones?
really, really important. In fact, I don't get hot flashes, and I never got hot flashes, and I feel like that's because of the raw food. I mean, I just within my body, it might be different for other people, but I know that for myself, and so important. Um, in the way that I feel, in my mood, in the way my body looks, in the way that my energy levels. Yes, so vital. They're vital to me.
Yeah, and I love also how you mentioned about how the estrogen you move it up and down. And I think as women, our hormones were never constant, before. And look, I notice exactly the same as you said. I am on just estrogen hormone replacement. It's not bioidentical. But I do notice that if I go up too much, I just blow up. But then if I go down too much, I can barely function
Yes.
because of my mood. Like my mood, that was like a main reason why I had to move across, because I personally got to a point where I could barely function, like, just because always feel, I don't know what you're like, but with hormone replacement, I find the universe talks more. Like when I don't have hormone replacement in, like I took for granted that, like, when I look at even white paint on the wall or a light, that you're getting some sort of feedback, feelings and emotions. And when
Yes.
I'm not on hormone replacement, gone, boom, it's white. It's like, do you experience that?
Well, what I noticed is that so I've been doing yoga for years and years and years. And I started noticing that I wasn't feeling elated after a session because I usually feel just so very calm, very zen, very connected with the universe. And I noticed I wasn't feeling that.
Yeah.
And I was also noticing that my body wasn't as, I want to say flexible, but it was more like an inner flexibility, like just like that flow, just that zen kind of feeling. And I feel I wasn't as connected with the universe either. But that was my first, that was my first, like, what is going on with me? What's wrong with me? Like, and I tried doing different types of yoga and I just didn't get that endorphin. I think it's the endorphins that I wasn't feeling anymore.
Yeah. It's interesting. Does anyone on the panel have any questions after hearing Marabella's story? Kiko, Dulce, Larissa?
I'm sorry, maybe I missed it, but Marabella, I think first of all, thank you so much for sharing that information.
Yeah.
That I was just like, wow, that's so amazing. Everything you were sharing. So this bioidentical thing, is this like a pill that you take, or how do you take?
Yes. Okay. So they offer bioidentical hormones in a couple of different ways. Mine is a liquid, and I put a drop under my tongue. Some women take it in a cream, and some women take it in pellets. Like you can have like a little bit of surgery, I guess, and put a pellet in, and it lasts a few months or whatever. And because I do so much juicing, and I feel like because of having the raw foods, I feel okay with having it under the tongue. I think the question would be, would it cause buildup in your liver? Maybe that would be a question, but I feel safe with this because the dosage is low for me, and also I do really cleanse my system. That's super important to me. That's another thing too, is if I start to feel like I'm bloating, I'll go on a cleanse and it clears the bloating right up. And I'll still use the bioidenticals on the cleanse, but I definitely will cleanse. I usually do like a juice cleanse.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's all about trying to keep the body in balance. And if you are clogged up, hormones do build up. And an example of that was when I knew I was having too much cacao and I've given it a break and I swell. And I don't necessarily think it's the cacao as much as I think it's how do I get this body of mine to stay in balance. And I've spoken about how magnesium helps, omega-3s help. And for me, having hysterectomy, hormone replacement therapy helps. But I really think like when you're on raw foods, you get in tune with your body. And I assume people who are still menstruating, like most people on this panel, is that you do feel more in sync with your cycle and where that needs to be. And it's interesting how, like you, Marabella, is I taper based on what my body needs. Also, when you have a pellet put in, which I have had in the past, is you lose that control, and you also can't get another pellet put in until it wears off to a certain level. And then you find when you first have it put in, because it's such a shock to the system, it's quite strong, even though it's slow release. And then it tapers off again. And so I chose, and as I said, not bioidentical, but I chose to use a patch. You can vaginally as well, and you can use creams in different areas of the body. But yeah, I like that control where, like everyone who's still menstruating, there are these fluctuations and changes. So I just wanted to say, Marabella, Koala Mama said, it says Marabella said she gets her hormones tested. What were your levels like when you were heavy bleeding? Did you know? Well, they were low, I think you said they were low when you got tested.
Yeah, they were low, really low. I don't know. I should know. Another thing that's really good to do, and I didn't think about bringing my numbers to the podcast, but when you're feeling good, get your hormones checked. Like the best time to get from what I understand is to have your hormones checked right after your period. Like right now while you ladies are feeling good while you're young, have your hormones checked so that as you get older and start to feel different ways, like I just didn't feel like myself too. That was another thing. I just started to feel, I don't even know how to explain it, like just weird, like not like me. And so that way, when if you run into that where you start to feel really tired or you start to have hot flashes or you start to not feel like yourself, you have a base of what your hormones were when you were feeling good. And so yes, my hormones were low, and maybe all through my mid 40s they were, and I just didn't know it. I didn't realize that was what was going on with me because I've never thought, "Oh, I'm this age, I'm so old." Like I don't even think about age at all. So when it hit me, I was like, "What is going on?" The first thing I thought, "Oh no, I don't want to give up being vegan. Am I going to have to?" But
I think that's a question many women have, or many people have, right? Is a lot of people, especially around periods and low iron, is it's like like they think they have to be made to eat meat. Now, when I was eating meat, and even when I was paleo, so I was eating like hardly any, if any, preservatives or bad food. It was nuts, seeds, fruit, and meat. Is my iron with, I'm missing that huge part of my intestines, but was tanking out, dropping every 3 months. Now, in the 4 years of being a raw vegan, mind you, it still tanked out when I was a vegan, but being a raw vegan, I've only had one infusion. Now, I used to have like 4 a year. So there's more to this. And I notice all these reels coming up with women who have had low and iron and chronic anemia and have gone vegan, more plant-based and healthy whole food vegan, and they don't have any anemia anymore. So it really is that like we can absorb things which don't irritate or inflame the gut.
Yeah, because you alkaline your body, so it starts the cleansing. So that's gonna help you. That's all we have to do, like clean first, and
That's
then
right.
we can absorb.
That's right. So I want Dawson, Kiko, I remember when I used to have my period, and you get very in sync with your cycle. And the way you know what estrogen does to your body is the week before you usually get your period, when you're ovulating and you get that estrogen spike and you eat more. I'm talking about when I was having a standard diet. You eat more, you swell more, and then as you have the period and bleed, you usually deflate. And everyone says just after it finishes, they feel great, like you've just like lost everything. Because we've spoken about, like, we're talking about hormones now that are remaining very constant. Like Marabella and I are like moving our HRT a little bit to suit ourselves. But what's it like for you guys with your cycle? Are you very aware of when things like estrogen and progesterone are kind of going up and down? Because you're all on a high raw diet. Larissa, do you want to start?
Yeah, definitely. I can definitely feel the shifts in my hormones and my body throughout the month, but it's definitely a lot less drastic now that I am mostly raw and have been for about 8 years now. And I notice, like, if I do go through periods where I eat more cooked food, my periods are more heavy, and the symptoms beforehand are a little bit more noticeable. But when I stick to the more raw foods and hydrating foods, like, it's a lot easier. And but yeah, like in general, typically the week before my period, like I'll notice a little bit of breast tenderness, nothing too bad. And then yeah, like since I'm in a healthy state now, my periods are, not super heavy. They're pretty painless, pretty easy. Um, but I had to go through a period of healing my hormones because I was on birth control for so many years when I was younger. And that just took a period of going through the discomfort of allowing my body to readjust to producing its own hormones. And during that time, I would get pretty sick during my periods, but now I'm happy that that has all passed. And yeah, I definitely notice a huge difference in how the whole month feels, especially during the bleeding process, depending on how I had been eating in that month. And it's kind of a blessing as females that we have this extra cleansing process that we go through every month.
100%.
And it just shows us a lot about the state of our health. But yeah, I feel very connected to my cycle, and knowing like what's going on with my body and how I eat and how I sleep and all of that affects it. So it's a beautiful thing to be a woman and to be so connected to ourselves.
I love that. And I really do believe if I found the raw foods before my pain got so bad, I wouldn't have had the hysterectomy. And I think most of my life, and people I speak to have had hysterectomies, are so repulsed by the whole menstruation and cycle because it's so painful and so horrific. And I mean, as you said, Larissa, you were on birth control, so you probably went through that stage. And then you hear all these women going like high raw or plant-based, and they're becoming very connected to themselves and their cycle. And it is sacred, right?
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah.
So I think that's beautiful. Larissa, for people who are going through withdrawal from, say, birth control and their body's out of control and they're going higher raw, was there anything else you did to support your system while you went through that process besides like plant-based and raw?
I mean, definitely just being in tune with the other things that affect your hormones, like stress levels and having a regular sleep cycle. They say it's really good to go to bed by 10 p.m. And doing that regularly just helps your circadian rhythm, which helps your hormones a lot. And then speaking of something similar to the bioidentical hormones, they do say that like wild yam cream is really great. It naturally helps you produce sufficient progesterone, which then helps balance your other hormones like the estrogen and the testosterone in your body. So I did use that for a period of time as I was rebalancing my hormones, and that was a really nice natural way to do that. I also regularly, to this day, take an herbal tincture every day that just has some nice herbal extracts that are really great for balancing hormones. And yeah, I just think that the raw foods are very important, cleansing your body, because the healthier the state of your body, then everything else, like your endocrine system and your lymphatic system, everything is going to be just healthier, and you're going to feel a lot better.
100%. What's that tincture called? Because I know people might want to know. Do you know the name of it or what is in it?
Yeah, so I can't think of all of the herbs in it off the top of my head, but it's called menopausitive because it's actually great for supporting women that are going through menopause.
Mm-hmm.
But as a younger woman, like, you can take it too. Like, it just helps you to balance your hormones through all stages of your cycle. And I get it through a company that I work with called Perium, and it's absolutely, like, just amazing. I love it. And I notice a difference when I take it.
Okay, we can connect this to the description, but I will write this down the bottom for anyone who wants to know. And Larissa's details are there if you do want to reach out to her. I do use wild yam cream. It's really interesting. Before I put the hormone replacement on, I tried to use wild yam cream. And this is before I got my body what I call back in balance. Everything knocked me. And I could not function just using wild yam cream.
Yeah,
but I
it's more
believe,
gentle.
yeah, like I believe it's helped with me balancing my hormones with the estrogen.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not taking progesterone, but I do. And that to me is like that progesterone side of it. Progesterone just knocked me around too much. So that's another great tip as well. So thank you. Dulce, do you want to talk a little bit about you and where you're at with your cycle and what works for you?
Sure. Thank you for sharing, Larissa and Marabella. I was surprised by your age. Like, you're so young.
Thank you.
And yeah, in my journey so far right now, I am completely happy with my cycle. Thank God and myself for doing the work. But yeah, I don't have anything that tells me that my period's coming. It's very regular. I'm on the full moon. And the only thing that I will say is like I tend to crave something savory one night before. That's it. No pain, no nothing. But that wasn't like that, of course, before taking care of myself with the way that I nourish myself. And before I was clearing my lymphatic system where everything was so stagnant. And like Larissa, I drink teas. I try to mix the ones that I feel called to. Uh, I always have like the staple of the main ones, like that are gonna detox my body and support, so everything keeps on flowing. And like I said on the last call, was I do some Johnny steams with calendula, rose petals, and some other herbs that I get from, and it's just a beautiful mix that you have like a sacred time to clean your vagina, and it's just like it's gonna clear out whatever is coming. And it comes also like this time for yourself to just nourish it and let things go, emotional stuff too. And it just feels amazing for me. I know that there's different companies that they do like these herbs. um, but I'm gonna look forward for the one that you were mentioning, Larissa, just to know the mix of them. It sounds amazing. But yeah, on my cycle, I try to keep my circadian rhythm as well with the sleep, because that's the main one. As being a mom, it's like you get the time, or at least myself, it's like at night it's just my time to just decompress and take the time to just self-care a little bit, and it takes more time for me to just go straight to bed, right? But that's a main one. And know the completely cycle of us with the moon and honor it as much as we can. I think it's something very important. Honor it. And with that is like on our menstruation, it's just like rest more, sleep more, don't go so heavy on the movement that we choose to do, or the weight or whatever. And yeah, the food is gonna be also, in my case, I like to nourish the way I feel drawn to, and honor that to my body. And that's when there's a specific time where I'm gonna be eating more soups or something that I feel like a warm hug for me, and instead of like being completely raw at the whole day, I might add something at dinner that is warm. But that's just like the way I feel called to. And it's not all the time, but sometimes I feel like I will need that. Yeah, that's how it is right now. And yeah, that's what I've been incorporating more. Just honor my cycle more, and hydration, lots of hydration.
I love that. You know, I hear a lot of high raw vegans and raw vegans say they are cycled on the full moon, as well. And I notice since having the hormone replacement back in I'm like obviously got no cycle, but I am so in sync with the moon again. And I think it's such a beautiful gift, an extra gift, that when you look after yourself and you're eating a really clean and high plant-based and raw diet, that you learn who you are, right? And a lot of what Dolce is saying there is that you just keep listening to your body, something savory. When you menstruate, you know when you need a warm hug. You do vaginal cleanses and just all things to like know that we are sacred and to look after yourself. And anytime I personally have had something flare up, I don't have a cycle, but I get health issues. And I just think us as women, we're so emotionally connected to everything. We've really got to tune into that to keep our emotional and physical health.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Kiko.
Yeah, so interesting. Every one of your stories is so interesting and something to learn from. As for me, it's there are certain things that I relate to, but quite different. So, I used to take this, I sent the message on private chat. I don't know if you guys saw it, but I used to take this wild yam progestins essential oil blend by Young Living. I don't know if you have ever heard of it. And it smells so good. And I used to take it for a little time, period of time. Larissa, have you heard of it? I feel like you reacted to my.
Oh no, I haven't heard that one.
Anyone heard of it? Young Living.
I used to have some of the products of Young Living, but not that mix that you're mentioning. Um,
Young Living
Yeah.
Progesterone, is that what it's called? Or
Yeah.
I have heard of Young Living, and I think I've heard of something called Thieves Oil, and it was really similar to doTERRA's On Guard. So I've heard of their products.
Yeah, I'm not.
Young Living Progesterones, phytoestrogen essential oil. Is that it?
At some point I couldn't get it. I'm not sure if it looks like they're still available. Young Progestins Plus Serum.
Yeah, that's it. Let me just share the screen so everyone watching. I'm pretty sure I can just share my screen.
I just feel that it's way too expensive. And, I was taking it for a period of time, as I was saying. And I think every time I do something new, I feel like it works for first 3 months. So when I was living in Paris, tinctures were available, like good quality tinctures and herb teas as mix as well. So I tried quite a few, and like I said, for the first few months, somehow it works amazing, and I feel like, oh, okay, I found I found the answer. And then after third or fourth month, somehow, back to where it was. So I was going through, quite a few, holistic approach, especially in France. But now, as I shared on our podcast with Sky, that I took a pill to stop my period for now because I was bleeding way too much. Like Marabella was saying, I had to buy a diaper for like adults, and that didn't last. Sometime I had. I hope this is not too explicit, but I want to be raw and real.
Yeah.
And I had to buy, I bought this heavy pad, and that didn't last for 1 hour. It lasted for half an
Wow.
hour.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I
I
had
feel you.
lots. Yeah, for those as well.
Yeah, in the past, yes, it was pretty heavy. I had to use like I wasn't even aware about 100% cotton pads or whatever, so it was even bad, right? But yeah, I was using tampons, pads, and I had to change it every less than 2 hours because and I was having accidents all the time. So I know that like diapers for adults at my bed because I didn't want to have like a huge mess in there. So I used to have that plus pads plus tampon. I don't use any of
Yeah.
that anymore. I honor it if I can. There's specific underwear to use, and you don't even have to wear anything else, which I love those. And if I had to, I use a cup sometimes, and it's amazing. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, but if I'm at home, like I try to do free bleeding or whatever I feel called to. Like that's the way that I try to honor myself, and I try to teach my girls like you know honor that blood. And yeah, I'm grateful because I'm already like I'm a mother, and I'm not gonna have any more kids, and so now it's a different way to like just teach them for them for the future, for the way that they're gonna be taking their care of their bodies. And sorry, I'm interrupting you, Kika, but yeah, I feel you on that. It was so heavy.
Oh my
And
God.
someone said here, period panties, and I don't know what they are. Period panties.
I have few. I was so okay. First of all, Dulce, your daughters are very lucky to have a mother like you, because my mother avoided in all ways of talking anything about cycles. So that was a taboo topic with my mother. So your daughters are very, very lucky to have someone like you. I used to use the organic cotton pad because I wanted to be eco-friendly, and that was definitely not catching up with all the blood I was losing. And then I started using a disposable one to make it easier when I was out. Then on top of that, I was using a period panties, which helps on like leaking into your panties, but that was also not working. So I had to go to a men adult diaper. That was also not working. And there was some point of my life that I just had to lock myself in my toilet because it was just making mess everywhere. For me, again,
Can we,
I
Kiko, also just extend on that, where you literally were in a hospital bed where nurses couldn't believe you were conscious because your hemoglobin was so low? We're not talking iron here. We're talking about blood. Her body didn't have enough blood in it anymore. And do you want to? I know I go on about this a bit, but just so we know how bad this actually is and got, even on a raw diet.
right. So I wanted to always have this holistic approach, and I didn't want it to depend on surgeries, because I've gone through that with ovarian cysts. And I pushed and I pushed, and I just stopped believing anyone else, and I just wanted to cure everything with raw vegan diet. And I really pushed too hard that last year I almost died because hemoglobin was at 2. So I just checked on hemoglobin, the average range. I think it's 14, 15, women's 12 to 14 or something like that, and men 15, around that. and then mine was 2.
Okay, so that's going to be 20. Sorry to interrupt you. So in Australia, what I was told in hospital was that because mine was like in the 30s or something, which would be 3.7 on your scale. And I was bleeding out. I couldn't sit up and stay conscious. And I had like 10 blood transfusions to just keep me conscious. And so just so people are aware, because it seems there's different scales around the world. And yeah, in as far as I know, when you say the normal range is 14, I think it's 140 hemoglobin for humans. Now, I'm not a doctor and Kiko isn't a doctor, but we were trying to yesterday match up what these values are, because I said the nurses had seen a girl that was sitting at 14 and met a girl and she was translucent. So when you said 2, I didn't know how you were alive, but I'm thinking that's 20. So it's still like beyond, like it's very rare to see anybody conscious at that level. So go on.
Yeah, thank you, Sky. The nurses were saying that they've never seen in their whole entire career, they've never seen anyone alive at that stage. And, you know, it's funny, sometimes I've gone through massive pain and, you know, again, hemoglobin 2, which usually people would pass out and die at that point. But somehow I was conscious. And sometimes I wonder, like, why am I still alive on this earth? And it's one of the reasons that I'm speaking up the truth of what I have gone through. You know, I have been on the high raw vegan for over 20 years, right? And, you know, with the help of Sky, this life is it's a gift for me, especially for me, because I've gone through tough time, or I should have been actually dead last year, taking too much of a risk of my body, right? And I had lots and lots of like body, like blood, and not just blood, but it was like a huge clot coming over and over. And I really felt like I had miscarriage over and over. So I think the turning point is, as I was sharing on yesterday's podcast, a doctor said, you know, of course, we cannot force you to have blood transfusion, because I heard a horrific story about blood transfusion, and I just didn't want to go through that. And he said, you know, of course, there are some risks involved in anything in the hospital, but okay, isn't it too bad that you now, after this blood transfusion, you can go out and be active, and you're still young. And you know, I was so worried about, you know, what if I have, I don't know, cancer, taking hormones, what if I have some, you know, complication due to blood transfusion. But you know, I should worry about whether I can live for next few days, or next few years, or next couple decades. And then at that point last year, I've decided to live for you know, it could be a few months or a few years. But I said my life is not quite done yet. Apparently, I couldn't, you know, they didn't let me die. So that's one of the reasons I'm coming out to speak out the truth.
Yes, you had another lesson just to share. So
Yeah.
thank you.
Thanks,
I,
Kiko. And
I,
what
I do want to
sorry?
share. I do want to share though. So of course I'm not having a period right now, and I could very well start my cycle within a few months, and I would definitely be open to whatever the procedure there is to be. You know, maybe I would go through some low dosage hormone pills, or I might go with the same pill that would stop my period, and you know, that pill for 6 months period. But yeah, anyway, this is like a perfect timing to be with you and share your journey and learn from you. But recently, what has been helping me is omega-3 fatty acids balance. And I feel like that helped a tremendous amount. I am now highly sensitive to omega-6 fatty acids, so I don't take any, refined oils. If I eat cashews or even like sunflower seeds, I would react to it. Like I have some kind of inflammation going. So I love taking walnuts, chia seeds. Sometimes I would take pumpkin seeds. That seemed to work really well for me.
Selenium. I was wondering, Kiko, if you had any detox protocol in the past,
Many, many, many. Yeah.
like with herbs.
I've done with herbs. Yeah, quite a few, a lot when I was in living in France. Somehow it didn't quite work with me. I've done also naturopath. That didn't work for me either. Yeah, but I'm still open. Like there's so many herbs available on this earth. So whatever I tried maybe didn't work at that period of time.
So also, Kiko, you lived in Costa Rica for 2 years. Like you went all into the fruits. She's done juicing. She's done water fasting to the point where she couldn't get up anymore. So, sorry, I'm speaking for you, but just because I know that I've gone over this story with her, and I didn't know about like if you'd done herbs as well. But I think what the message is like if you listen to each person, their journey is so different. But I feel like the one thing is that listening to your body, like when you've tried everything within your reach and, like even death comes knocking on the door, is do you die or do you get help? Or, for many people, it hasn't got to that. But like the more we get in tune with our bodies, and to have the confidence to do that, like, I think Kiko's that example where it could have been, not so great. And all you needed was a little bit of help. And you still do all your raw foods and high raw and walnuts. Do you have any advice for anyone who's going through something like you, Kiko?
Raw vegan is not cure all. And some raw vegans who preach that this is the way to go. I mean, I've shared quite a few of my journey, and of course I was not fully raw for 20 years, and maybe there was something I could have done better, but I guess the message is don't be too hard on yourself. Go with your intuition. Yeah, but everyone's journey is so different. Trust your journey. I don't regret what I have gone through. Everything, and every part of my journey keeps me stronger. And I used to hide imperfection of my raw vegan journey, but that's where we learn. So yeah, everyone's journey is so different. Embrace your journey.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
appreciate you saying that too, because everyone's journey is so different and you can't do what somebody else does and you have to be yourself and what's right for you. And raw vegan's going to look different. Any type of vegan's going to look different. Perimenopause is going to look different. It's going to look different for everyone.
100%. I just want to bring this comment up because I'm hearing a lot of self-love and trust your intuition from the panel. And like I preach about raw foods a lot, or this a lot and that a lot, but in truth, everything I do is for that self-love. Like it's all love, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Yes.
I think connecting with someone like us helps a lot, because when you follow social influencers on so-called raw vegan gurus that they say this is the only way that would cure you, including me, right? We feel like if you're going through some detox, or there's something that we wish that this certain parts of our our health improves. And in this like endless detox mode that we are not perfect yet, it's yeah, it's tiring, and it's so what I'm saying is that connecting with someone like us, like real, when we are people like us who are ready to share the real story behind the scene, and I feel comfortable to share my story with you guys, but I might not be comfortable to share with some people who are completely negative about vegan lifestyle or raw vegan lifestyle. Do you agree?
Yes. Yes.
Yes. And I don't even think it's healthy to get on a panel and have an argument about meat versus plants. Like, I find my mental health and my health relies on me feeling love. And anytime I put myself out, like if I spent my whole day going around to people's posts being, that's wrong, you're wrong, I would get sick. Like, part of that healing for me is to sit in a space where I can share where I am, but also respect where other people are. I mean,
Yes.
15 years ago, I was back eating meat in hospitals. There was no concept. I was that person. So I don't really have a right to tell people off. It's just, you want people to be aware. And it's just one second. I'm just going to mute some of you because there's a bit of background noise. Yeah, I think we have to respect each person's like where they're at and not so much tell everyone what they're doing wrong. We don't know behind the scenes the person may be trying to include more vegetables, and we're like at them going, "Oh, you're really wrong." But I also I want to put this question up. It's like a statement, and I'll unmute you all again. It was just background noise there. I'm postmenopause. Oh, someone's got some real loud feedback there. Hello? I think it's you, Marabella. I've muted you, but there's like really loud feedback. I can't unmute anyone at the moment. You guys have to unmute yourself when you want to talk. Okay, so it says, I'm post-menopausal and I have so much peace in my body now. I am so grateful to be in this phase of my life. And I think that I'm going to be honest here, I do have times where I go through a stage. So I was sick most of my life. I didn't have what you would call a normal social upbringing, social interaction with people, hysterectomy at 30. And now I'm in menopause. I get well and I'm in menopause. I've missed a complete phase of my life. And I do like the hormone replacement. It connects me to part of myself that I feel at times was stolen. I went through many years of being grateful for being alive and sitting in a huge space of gratitude. But I will just be honest that a lot of when I didn't have the estrogen in, hormone replacement of estrogen, and I was aging really fast, and I noticed my hair was thinning, my joints were getting stiff, my skin was getting crepier. And for me, estrogen helped a lot with all that. Is I was not feeling the best anyway until I put the estrogen back in, but it's really hard for me on my journey to face that. That's I would love to sit in a stage of postmenopause where I was very grateful for my cycle, and whether I chose to have children or not was my choice. But because that stage of my life I feel was taken, and I'm working on that, and I do believe it's part of my purpose. I don't think I could have kids, to be honest, just because a lot of my time needs to be spent on getting to know me, and I like to put all my energy into myself. I have a lot of respect for parents, to be honest. Man, oh man, oh man. I get into bed at night and I'm like, I don't have any kids. How do people do their day? And that's part of my journey. Is I feel like I've got a lot of space for that. But I do feel, I'm just being honest, is I do find it hard to sit in that space. The hormones are helping me. It would be beautiful to sit in, when you're premenstruation, menstruation, and then perimenopause and menopause. How do you guys all feel about the space you are sitting in right now. Larissa, do you want to start? Like, how do you feel about having a cycle?
Yeah, I mean, like you had mentioned earlier, you know, when it's really heavy and uncomfortable, I feel like we have a lot more discomfort and disgust around it. And in just
Yeah.
in society, like that's what that was pushed on us, this idea that it's like not, you know, a fun time, it's gross, like shaming women for it. But obviously I've really reprogrammed my mindset around that and having a deep connection with my body and self-love and nature, being synced with the moon. All of that has really helped me, you know, just love and appreciate being a woman, going through this cycle every month that is really empowering. And I guess a huge part of that process has been healing on the physical level so that I can actually feel good through all parts of my cycle. And yeah, like it's I see it as a beautiful thing now. But it's been a journey to get here. And, you know, I went through, like I said, I was on birth control. I've healed PCOS, I've healed hormone imbalance, and it's been a journey, but I'm grateful where I'm at now because I feel really healthy and balanced. And I've learned a lot of these tools along the way so that I can help others. And that's been, I think, the whole purpose of this journey, really. And yeah, when I shared earlier about the herbal tincture I take, I just quickly looked it up so I can share the ingredients with you all. So this one has chaste tree berry, black cohosh root, dong kai root, red clover, and American ginseng. And yeah, it's only about like $30 for the whole little tincture. And actually, right now they're having a 15% off sale until the 26th. So I think Sky said she'll link the information below because if you get it through my link, then you can get that discount.
Yes. And I can just, well, maybe not. What's going on here? Is this going to work? Okay, so it looks like, yeah, so just moved across there. If I just share this screen quickly. Here. It looks like there, yeah, the menopositive, but definitely reach out to Larissa, or we'll put a link at the bottom for you guys so you can get that
Yeah.
discount.
But I'm grateful to be, you know, in my earlier years, tuned into like these natural tools that I know will help promote longevity in my hormonal balance. And yes, it's called menopositive. It's great for women who are perimenopause, either going through menopause or who are, you know, in the earlier years, like way before any of that stage. But it's just, for me, I've noticed it's really helped just balance my hormones, and I feel really good with it.
Great. So we'll put that. I think it's good when what I just wanted to mention based on what you're saying there is what I've noticed since being raw is, and you've helped me realize this, Marabella, is when you talk about your cacao and cacao ceremonies and you learn from it, you don't like to put it in a box of like, this is crack cow and like this is like it's all negative. And what I noticed is when I have added the estrogen and it's teaching me things, as in like I have lessons to learn from the estrogen or from the hormones. And if I just say I was to wake up one day and I put like 10 things in all at once, is now I know why my body would always defunk when I've gone to naturopaths and they're like, you need 15 things, you've got to take it 5 times a day. And it just made me really sick. And it really makes me realize like I have a lot of respect. And Larissa, like this tincture seems to really help you. And you're obviously learning lessons. There's like a consciousness to these things. So, you know, find what works, have that respect and relationship with whatever you're using.
Yeah, I like that you bring that up because it's like a plant medicine, you know, like all of these herbs, they do have their own consciousness, all the fruit, all the plants. and they all serve a purpose. And that's how herbalists back, in ancient times, they were able to meditate with the herbs and the plants, and it would tell them through meditation what it was good for. And now we have science in modern day to like prove that. And there is like a soul essence behind these plants. It's so healing and so beautiful.
I love that. I love that. So, yeah. Yeah, and thank you, Marabella, for like saying, you listen to different parts of, of what something has to teach you, because I think that's a really important lesson. So did anyone else want to speak on any topics that came up or any thoughts or?
This might not be, again, it's not just hormone, but I think paying attention to your cravings is so important. Like there are times, especially when I was living in Paris, I was craving a lot of potato chips, and I was buying lots of healthy potato chips. And later I realized that because it was I was lacking in magnesium. When you are going through some stress, you're depleting some magnesium. So and then I replaced it with almonds. That was a healthier choice. Chocolate also sometime when I don't crave for chocolate anymore, but when I was in 20s, I was craving so much of like dark chocolate, and that's also like magnesium. My body was looking for the magnesium. So yeah, paying attention to what your cravings are and what you might lacking, without just going for blood tests every time.
Yeah, I agree. So when you go into menopause, because I am in full-blown menopause since I was 30, is you get a lot of estrogen from the fats in cells, and that can help with hormones. And I noticed I craved a lot of fat, and as soon as I got on the hormone replacement, is my body can run quite efficiently without as much fat. And it's really interesting to notice how it all changes. I mean, not just that, that's just one example. But even I think, who was saying that I was thinking, Kiko, when you said that before you used to get your period, was it you or someone was saying they crave something savory? Was it Doll? Someone said it. Yeah. And I was thinking, well, because your adrenals might need a little bit of an extra boost. So you're going to want more salty versus sweet for like the night. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's your body like telling you, we need a little boost here, and it's a beautiful thing. Did anyone else want to say anything?
Yeah, I would like to say, like what Larissa was sharing, it's so beautiful because the way that we have to rewire our mind, the way that we were growing up. Kiko was saying that she didn't have that experience with your mom by sharing, or it was like a taboo about menstruation, or just the one part of the cycle that we are aware, kind of the whole cycle, which is the 4 phases. But most of us, we only get if we about menstruation only. And I remember how I was like so uncomfortable by and just thinking, why us, we have to, like women have to be going through this, and men, they don't. Like I was like with anger, and I was just a teenager, right? Like why they just don't, they just enjoy, they just like, why? I wasn't aware of how precious and how the portal that we have uh as women, and the wisdom and all this creativity, if we decide to be a mother or not. But all this beautiful thing that as a woman we have, and the intuition and everything, right? So it's so beautiful the way that you were saying, Larissa, that we have to rewire our mindset, because the way that we were growing up or taught um, was a little bit different. So I think it's this time of consciousness and to share how women can be thriving and honoring our bodies and our our time and our cycle. It's way different than men. And now well, in my case, I respect the way we live, or our cycle and their cycle as well. So it's just a thing of how we're growing up, and the mindset, and the beliefs, or the discomfort that we go through. It doesn't have to be like that. It doesn't have to, we don't have to show other generations like it has to be something bad.
Am I
Or
back? I'm going to have to check my Wi-Fi. I don't know what's going on there. Is everyone frozen?
No,
Oh,
you're back. You're back. Yeah.
okay. I was just going to say that I remember hearing I was going to bleed once a month until I was like 50 or something. I was literally traumatized. It wasn't this beautiful experience of like this gift that you get and this connection to the universe and yourself and your femininity. It was literally like, and you're going to carry this around, you have to put this in. And I'm like, oh my God. Oh my God. So it's not, that's why, and sorry, I did ask Larissa, and then I just wanted to ask everyone else how they feel about where they are in their cycle. And it's so nice to hear that you guys have obviously been through it, like traumatized, and now you've
Yes.
learnt all these different tools and ways and connections to yourself and the moon, and it's a beautiful experience. And being a mum as well, Dolce, that's beautiful, like that you would be connecting that and sharing that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so beautiful. But yeah, I feel you on that. Like, I remember my days as a teenager, and I was like, oh, this is so uncomfortable. Like, I don't like it. And oh, it comes again. And it has to be the same way all my life until at specific age. Like, it wasn't something that I was enjoying or understanding, you know. So it's so different when you are connected. But yeah, it was not comfortable at all.
Yeah. I remember it's like school, everything was around it. Like, when does it come? And oh my God, I've got a sleepover, I've got a swimming comp, or it was always like it's in the way. And then I have it taken away. And then I'm like, I want it back. And that's half of life until I went raw, is like, I always wanted what I didn't have. And part of my journey is understanding that I have everything I need now. Everything extra is just a gift, but a beautiful gift. So that's beautiful. Marabella, what about you? You have to unmute yourself. But how do you feel about where you are in the perimenopause
I
stage?
Yeah, I really like where I am. I like where I am. I like how my cycle is right now. It's not super heavy. And I think it's interesting how Dulce talked about how she has her period on the full moon. And each cycle of the moon is symbolic of something. And when you have your period on the full moon, it's the shaman phase. And I think that goes with being raw vegan and how we um, are so in tune now with life and self love and the earth and the cycles. So I have my cycle on the full moon too. So I just think that's so
That's
fitting.
amazing. Because
Yeah.
just to interrupt you before you go on and tell me about your journey, is I've spoken to raw vegans who have had their cycles sunk so that they ovulate on the full moon, which is what everyone thought was supposed to happen. But every raw vegan, not me, obviously, but I
Yeah.
speak to, seems to be menstruating on the full moon. So that's
Yes.
interesting that it's that shamanic, like
Uh,
deep spiritual level.
right. Right. Yeah, and Sky, to your point about the plant, like feeling the cacao and what does it have to teach you? And then for me with the bioidenticals, I do feel like there's that well, they're made with wild yam and
Mm,
some other natural additives too. And I really do feel like it has something to teach me as well.
mm.
So when I take it, it's like when I drink the cacao, kind of like tuning into that energy. I just say thank you. I'm so thankful for it. So just
Yeah,
tuning into that gratitude for it, because I really
yeah.
feel like feel like myself again.
Yeah, that's beautiful. What about where you are? You said you like where you are now. Do you feel
Yeah.
that's because you feel fulfilled? You had children, you've moved past, you moved through that stage. Do you see that in that sort of way?
Yeah, it's from I'm at a point now where I've healed a lot of trauma. Um, I'm helping others. That feels really good. Physically in my body, I feel really, really good. I know about the power of manifestation, so I don't feel powerless. I feel powerful. I think it's all about the self-love, tuning into self-love and what am I doing for myself, physically, emotionally, mentally. I think it's just the phase of life that I'm in. Now I can start exploring other things, like doing the podcast and getting my channels going. So it just feels like a good place to be right now.
Good. And Kiko, how do you feel about your whole journey through the different phases of life as a woman?
Yeah, I feel really good. I feel very well, I feel energetic. I wake up very fresh every morning. I feel like dancing every day.
I love
Uh,
that.
yeah, I can sincerely say that my life is in a great place. And, again, embrace your journey. It's so important because, I think until very recently, I feel like, oh, maybe I didn't do it right. Oh, that's why maybe I had to go through this. And, whoever is listening to this podcast, don't be hard on yourself. I think you're doing the best you can. And, I felt like this period is like a mess. I read quite a few books about period and, having period on full moon, and that period is like a message of how you have eaten well or your mental state. And don't be hard on yourself because I've gone through this eating so well and then I had like a massive lot coming out and it's lots of clots and I'm thinking what happened. I've done like juice cleanse and water fasting and I'm still going through this challenges. So embrace it because honestly I can share more about the traumas that especially when I was in France. I've gone through a lot of traumas and health challenges and every part of our journey is so beautiful and I can relate to so many people because of the challenges that I have gone through. So embrace your journey. What you're going through is just perfect. It would make sense at the end of our journey, but reach out for help. It's okay to take pills if necessary. It's you to it's for you to decide. Go within you to uh, to search for what works the best for you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a beautiful sentiment. I think that's what it's each person has this journey and we can't sit around dictating that if you do this, you're going to have this perfect life. And a lot of like having bad experiences has built me and you ladies as well into who you are. So there is gratitude in the trauma. So I think that was beautiful, Kiko.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you. Is there anything else anyone wanted to talk about this week before we go?
I just want to thank you, Sky, for connecting us from all over the world. With different time zone. I'm just so grateful that you work so hard behind the scene, and yeah, I love to connect with all of you. It's everyone's story, so inspiring, and thank you.
No,
You're
thank you.
welcome. You're
My
welcome. I'm
goodness.
just so grateful we can all come together and that you ladies want to share as much as I want to share, because that's where the power is. We never know when and we never know who, but our words go out now into the universe. Well, they're already out there, but they sit there in social media, and you can hit someone or change someone's life when you don't know. So thank you. It's been such a pleasure. And everybody watching, we'll be back in a month's time. And we will share again. We'll see if we can get another guest, or we'll pick another topic. You guys can message underneath with comments if there's a topic that you want us to talk on, and we'll see you then. Thanks, ladies, and bye, everyone.
Thank you.